All right, Mark Dubowitz is with us now. He is the CEO of the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies. I just want to play some of that video that was airing during Jennifer Griffin's piece, because Iran has said, oh, we didn't attack the Kuwait International Airport. That was a Patriot missile battery, a Kuwaiti air defense system run by the Americans that went bad. Clearly, Mark, when you take a look at this slow motion video, these are Shahed drones coming in. It was absolutely Iran that did this.
Yeah, of course it was, John. I mean, the regime in Iran is known for its mendacity, but it's also known for taking advantage of the so-called ceasefire to keep striking at U.S. allies, at U.S. forces, and using its terrorist organization Hezbollah to be striking at the Israelis. So I don't know, John, some ceasefire where they're firing at us and we're just taking it.
Yeah, all right. Well, President Trump actually addressed that yesterday in the Oval Office, the amount of shooting that's going on in the middle of the ceasefire. Listen to how he characterized it.
Pretty much the way it is, it's a different part of the world. You know, I'd say in that part of the world, ceasefire is when you're shooting in a more moderate manner.
Mr. President, yesterday you signed, Mr. President.
Not bad. It's true. I mean, a ceasefire there is much different than a ceasefire in other parts of the world.
So what's your take on that? That, yeah, we've got a ceasefire, but we're going to keep shooting at each other just in a more moderate fashion.
Well, as long as we're shooting at each other and we're not being shot at and not responding. I mean, I think it's very important that the United States military continues to make it very clear to the Iranians that if they continue to shoot at our men and women, there's going to be a severe price to be paid. So, yeah, I agree with President Trump. It's a different part of the world, but you know, it's not a different reality that if the enemy keeps shooting at you and doesn't pay a price, then all that does is encourage them to continue violence against our men and women in uniform.
In your opening remarks, you mentioned Hezbollah, which brings me to this point. Hezbollah has apparently rejected the ceasefire agreement or the peace deal or whatever between Israel and Lebanon, which was key to the overall ceasefire. And my question is, why is Hezbollah even at the table? They're a terrorist organization.
That is exactly right. I mean, they're a terrorist organization that has killed and maimed thousands of Americans over many decades. They should not be at the table. We should not be talking to them. And we certainly shouldn't be talking to their representatives in the Lebanese government and in the Lebanese parliament. I think what we need to do is be defending our ally Israel, but to be taking the fight to Hezbollah. If Hezbollah thinks that we're backing down or we're constraining the Israelis, all they're going to do is escalate, and then there's no chance for a ceasefire. There's no chance for what President Trump is trying to achieve.
Mark, you and many other people that I've talked to have suggested that the only way to really arm wrestle Iran to the table and get some sort of a peace deal out of them is to resume kinetic activity and to take out certain strategic sites to put more pressure on the IRGC and the other leadership there to finally capitulate. President Trump is now suggesting that the only way that he would ever do that is if that American forces were killed. This is what the Wall Street Journal ran. President Trump has told aides privately that he would consider ending the ceasefire with Iran if Tehran kills American troops, U.S. officials said, insisting that the weeks-long pause in airstrikes remains intact despite a steady stream of violent skirmishes. The president's reluctance to reignite the war suggests he might be willing to withstand smaller flare-ups for weeks, even months, to avoid a broader conflict in the Middle East. You posited the idea, and something I read, that President Trump might want to end this war more than Iran does.
Well, we certainly don't want that to be the perception in Tehran, because if that is the perception, then guarantee you the Iranians will escalate. It'll make war more likely, and it'll make it more likely that Americans are going to get killed. The best way to ensure that Americans stay safe is for the Iranians to fear the United States of America, for American people to believe President Trump is committed to winning this war, and for the regime in Iran to fear a combination of American and Israeli power.
Yeah, well, we're coming up on our 9th week of a 2-week ceasefire, so we'll see where it goes from here. Mark, always good to catch up with you. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.